Reverend Bernard Randall, welcome.
Thank you.
We'd like to ask you to introduce yourself for this session.
Of course. I'm Bernard Randall and I'm ordained in the Church of England. I was a school chaplain in a Church of England school, but I made the horrible mistake, or not, of giving a sermon about, touching on LGBT ideas, and it didn't go very well with the school leadership. So I was sacked for gross misconduct, reported to the police under the anti-terrorism prevent duty, reported to safeguarding services. Fortunately, those didn't go very far, but it didn't go down well, so I lost my job simply for standing up for the idea that you can accept traditional Christian beliefs about marriage, the reality of sex and gender identity not being 100% true.
Wow. Amazing, interesting, of course, as well. Okay, so I'd like to ask you, why do you choose to speak in school about LGBT stuff? What do you want the children to understand about the LGBT movement?
Well, I chose to speak about it because we had a group coming into school called Educate and Celebrate, who are very aggressively LGBTQIA plus whatever. And in fact, in the training they did for staff, they had the staff chant about the need to smash heteronormativity. So it shows how very anti-traditional values that was. So the program was introduced into the school, and on one occasion a pupil said to me, "Please, can you talk in chapel about how come we're told we have to accept all this LGBT stuff in a Christian school?" And the have to accept was the really important part of that question. And I thought, no, I have to say to people, you don't have to accept. You don't have to accept any belief system. You're free to make up your own mind. So I gave the sermon saying, you can accept all the LGBT stuff, but actually there are differences between LGBT activist ideas and the beliefs of most Christians. And those differences about marriage, sexual activity properly belonging within traditional marriage, biological sex is real, and the whole thing about gender identity doesn't really make sense. You can accept those Christian viewpoints, but you make up your own mind. That was really important in what I said. You make up your own mind. You don't have to accept what people tell you, which includes Christianity. People come to faith or not according to their own decisions and the things that they put into their own lives. That's all I was saying. And I thought that was really important, partly because it's a basic fundamental human right to have freedom of conscience, freedom of belief, freedom of religion. And if you can't say in a school the basic human right of free religion is important, those kids are never going to learn it anywhere else. But I was also particularly thinking about the way that many, many young people get confused about who they are and what all this stuff means. And you get lots of teenagers, they think it's cool to identify as trans or gender fluid or whatever it is. And for some of them, they just grow out of it after a while. They realise it's not so cool after all. But some of them stay with that and they think it's true. And then what happens when, as a boy who thinks he's somehow a girl or more feminine or whatever, later in life, when he's trying to form relationships with other people, he doesn't understand, well, as a man, this is the kind of behaviour I'm likely to have. These are the kind of personality traits which are more common in men, and I'm exhibiting them because I'm male. How does he understand his relationship with women? And vice versa, how do girls growing up then understand their relationship with men? Because for most people who identify as queer, gender fluid, whatever, as teenagers, they're going to grow up and be wanting to have a heterosexual partnership, marriage, I hope. And if they don't understand who they are, how can they have a good marriage? How can they have a good relationship with the person of the opposite sex if they don't know that people of the two sexes are in many ways quite different to each other? In lots of ways exactly the same, but in so many ways there are these subtle differences. And I just wanted to put into their heads the doubt about the LGBTQI ideas so that they could then understand themselves better in the long run. That was the idea. Don't know if it worked.
Why is LGBT indoctrination so harmful for children? Does it really affect their identity?
Well, I mean, it's harmful in the sense that they don't know themselves, or they are encouraged to put onto their real personality all these extra layers, which are false, which don't actually belong to them, but they might think they belong to them. So they're just confused. And if you grow up through childhood confused, you're likely to become a confused adult. And if you're a confused adult, you're likely to be an unhappy adult. And so we generate a whole culture of unhappy people with bad mental health because they've brought all these lies into their lives. And so it's really important to give people an access to the truth so that they know, this is what I am as a man. This is what I am as a woman, and I live with that, and I accept that, and I'm happy with that, and now I know myself, I can get on with a happy life. So anything that gets in the way of that understanding, I think is very harmful. I quite often bring things back to the Ten Commandments. Honour your father and your mother, that it may go well with you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Good family relationships and understanding mother and father as both important, and modelling yourself. Honour your father and mother means give weight to them, follow their example. If you do that, the life in the society will be good. If you fail to do that, society collapses. That's what that commandment, that's what the promise seems to me to say. So if you want a healthy society, understand male and female, father and mother. And if you want to destroy society, destroy the family. And that's what smash heteronormativity from the activists actually means. It means destroy the family.
Yes. Will you say that the UK is being subject to a cultural Marxism? Why is this dangerous?
Well, I suppose I've just given the answer to that, haven't I? That I think the cultural Marxism, they hate the family. Marxists hate family because families give traditional values to children who then grow up to give the traditional values to their own children, and they're passed on through generation and generation. And that's what honour your father and mother effectively means, is follow the values of your father and mother. And Marxists hate that because they want to give their values to young people. So it's so important for Marxists to take children away from the family, put them in state-run education where the state tells them what to believe, the state gives them these ideas, separated from the family. And that's not healthy for anybody. Now, if you are estranged from your family, for whatever reason, there are so many reasons, that's a real pain to people. We see that in all sorts of people around us. Their families have broken down or disappeared. They have pain. But the Marxists want to break down the family. They want to cause that pain. They don't realise that's what they want to do, but it is. How can that be good for anybody? So yeah, it's a real danger, but we see this a lot in the UK, that the state takes over looking after children away from families because all these ideas have come in secretly underground, and people don't realise quite how damaging a lot of that is.
And what is your advice? Will you give to IFTCC learning candidates?
I think the advice would be know the stuff, know what's going on in the background, look at it, think deeply about it so you understand it. Because when you understand what's going on, then you can share that understanding with other people. Then when you're having conversations, you can slip in the ideas. You don't have to give a sermon every time you have a conversation with a person, but you can just speak the truth and highlight some of the difficulties and point out some of the inconsistency and the incoherence. Sometimes you might say, doesn't that cause a problem when? And you know what that is, and you're putting the seeds into the minds of other people, that then they go away and think about it and then come back to you later and go, you know that conversation we had about that thing, tell me more. But you can only do that if you know the background, if you know all that information. So learning these truths allows you to share them and allows you to avoid the lies. And that's what we're called to do, is to live in truth.